and then that's how you get the report. And then I see everything is completed except for Larita, but I think Larita approved some of the timesheets, so I still left her active, but she just never has hours, so that's okay with me.
Yeah, understood. Got it.
Yep. And then next thing I do is I go to check the Larita's email, which is the 2 adjusted salaries. So the next thing I do is I open up another tab usually, and then this is the dashboard again, and then I go to people, and then I go to list, and then I go to another list option here, and this will show all the employees the company has. And then when you click the pencil, you can see the person profile and everything else. And then to adjust the rate, I just go to the rate tab right here. And then I can just adjust your salary manually here.
Okay.
So you can just click the plus rate button. And then this period started on, let me take a look. Started on 5/13. So I'll just do 5/13/23. End of period. This just lets you know when you want to stop the rate, but I'll just do end of time until Loretta gives me an update on when to adjust it again.
Okay.
And then the cost rate is just kind of your hourly rate, but bi-weekly. So how I get the cost rate is I just do the salary that Loretta gave me, and then divide it by 2080, because that's how many business hours are in the year.
Got it.
Sorry that I use a Google calculator. I'm just used to it. And then, so this is the cost rate for your new salary. So I just go back in here. Oh, it's right here. And I just adjust the cost rate to 81.25. And then I should save. And it should work.
Got it.
And then I think Emmanuel Bailey also has the same thing. So I'll do that entire thing again. I go to people, list. And then I go to Emmanuel Bailey pencil, which just helps me adjust anything. And then I go to rates as well. And then I'll put the start date to 5/13 as well. And then I just have to calculate the new salary. 84. So this is the new cost rate for the salary. And then I save. And then that should adjust everything.
Okay.
So the next step is I go to the reports section again, and then I go to dashboard. And then since we're doing payroll, most of the reports that you'll need is going to be under the people reports.
Okay.
So the next thing I do is I download people time detail reports. And then I always uncheck non-employee and non-employee PO. And then I always set the time period to the payroll period that we're doing. And then for rates, I make sure it's always on cost. But I think it should default to cost.
Okay.
And then always do standard view because the customized view is really wonky. And then I just take a quick look at the notes that Loretta sent me. So, for example, I know I just changed your salary. So I can see the cost rate has changed right here, which is good. And then I also just changed Emmanuel's salary as well, which looks good. And then the other note is that Carol Parker works 95 hours. I think she set up as hourly, so I never actually had to do anything for her.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so she's good. And then no time for David Mitchell or Michael Wright, which I saw no time for them on the timesheet, so that's good to go.
Got it.
And then I'll always just save this report just for my own records, and you can do that as well. I just refer to this when I review the payroll journal before I send it off to Tasha. Okay. So the next step you do is
Can we pause for 1 second, child? Derek, do you have any questions about anything? Does everything seem clear to this point?
Yeah, at this point, I mean, I see you recording, so it's good. I mean, that's the only thing is just going back and forth between the reports, because like normally I go to people's and a list of employees and everything. So I just had to get familiar with creating those reports. But I mean, I took notes, so I understand up to this point. Yes.
And then also one thing we just want to highlight, just timing is key with the pay increases. So if you're running the report and you haven't done the pay increases, you just have to remember, just kind of like the sequence that Chow has outlined today, with making sure those increases are in first before you do the payroll, run the payroll report, and then import into paychecks.
Yes, understood.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Chow.
So the next step is you would go back to our favorite section again, which is reports again. Actually, no, you have to go here. This is the next step for the import. So you're going to go to admin, and then you're going to take in export. And this is the file you upload into Paychecks. And then once you're in this admin export screen, you will go to list, and this shows you a template of every export that we've done so far.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And for this one, we just do copy of Paychecks upload report right here. And when you do this, this will also extract the time as well. So once it'll change the timesheet status from completed to extracted. So no one can touch it anymore pretty much except for the admin.
Okay.
And then I just press this play button right here, and then it will give me the report. And usually I just name it pay period 052623. And you have to make sure that you put .csv or else the file will come out wrong.
Yep, understood. Mm-hmm.
And then I always mark as extracted, so just extract the timesheets as well. And then specific time period, I always choose this one to get the right time period. I always unselect non-employee and non-employee PO. And everything else down here, I just keep the same. It's going to be completed. And I run the export, and I download the file. And then I save it. And then let me open that file that I just saved. Okay, this is what the export file would look like.
Okay.
And then this is where I usually open up the prior export file. So for example, this is 052623 pay period. I'll open the 5/12/23 pay period so I can see what adjustments I did to make this work into Paycheck. So there's not much you have to do except for adjusting some rows and some fields and deleting some stuff. So I know Bowman, she's always salaried, but she doesn't pop up salaried. But I just always know that she's salaried, so I just add her in there.
Okay.
And then the next thing I do is I filter all of this by just hourly. And then since they're hourly in Paychecks, you don't really need the total amount that they're getting paid in all of these fields. So I just delete all of them. And then next thing I do is I select all again. And then these you don't need as well because I copy this first row from the prior period to get the right format so it uploads correctly. So I just delete this as well. And then this is a prior upload file that I use. So what I do is I just take the first row and I just copy it over to the export file that we just created. So it gets the right fields for Paychecks.
Okay.
And then another key thing to note is you have to make sure this is in number format or else it'll give you an error when you upload as well. So I had like more than 3 decimal places. I just changed it to number.
Okay.
And then the fields that you see here are most likely the hourly people, and that will just automatically calculate once you import because they have a rate in Paychecks as well already.
Got it.
When you save this, let me make this bigger. So for here, I'll enter all checks myself because I'm going to import the file anyway, so I don't want Paychecks to enter anything for me.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I go to more options. And then if you see the first option here is import payroll data from CSV file. So that's why we have to make it .csv. And then here it is. And then I just drag the file that I just finished editing into here. And I just press import. And then this is where I open up the people time details, and I just double check right here if the total hours and the total amount is correct. So I'm going to open it up here. It's 575. Yep. 575 and 32,252, 32,252. So everything imported correctly.
Total hours. Okay, got it. Total hours.
Yep.
Got it.
And then if the total hours and the total amount doesn't match, that's when I drill in and look at each individual person, see where the error messed up.
Okay. Okay.
And then I just review and submit. Let me close this. And then I just run all. So this is where you get the reports, the payroll journal, and the cash requirement. I just run all if I just hit the screen, because I don't know if I have reran or updated the report. And then since the report just finished downloading, I just downloaded the payroll journal.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then the tax requirement as well. And that should be good. And then every time you make any changes, I like to update it because we use this for the payroll AP entry that comes from the bank. So we need the exact reports for it to get our payroll entry in.
Okay.
So that's about it. And then next thing I do is I open up the people time details again. Well, actually, I open up the prior period payroll journal to see if there's any notable changes that has happened.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So this is payroll journal. This is 512 on my other screen. And I just scroll down and see if, usually I just look at the net pay. If their net pay is usually the same, that means nothing big has happened. So I can see that Derek Bailey, or your salary just got decreased because of Lorita's note. So I noted that, and I know that what happened there. For Bailey, that's the same thing. And then Stephanie Bowman. Yep, she has the same net pay. Dwayne Parker.
While he's doing that, Derek, essentially he's just checking to make sure that, number one, gross wages are good. Number two, that everyone has the same taxes. They should specifically have one tax date. Like you shouldn't see someone with DC and Maryland tax date, and make sure that there's no changes with their benefits. The only time you'll see changes with their benefits is when you have 3 biweekly payrolls in 1 month. So during that third payroll, no one should have any deductions taken out from their check. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Understood. Yes.
And then you'll notice for some of the high salary people, like you and Emmanuel, for instance, that you'll start to phase out of Social Security. So you'll see, if you see a net change, look at the Social Security. If that's missing, then you know you phased out of it for the year.
Got it. Yeah. Understood.
We can see you're starting to phase out now because yours is getting kind of for a lower amount.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. Looks like all the deductions and no one's salary changed that much, so it's good to go from the last pay period.
Also, one more thing to note, Derek, is when you compare the payroll journal against the time details report, we're tracking PTO hours and paychecks. And the reason for that is those hours are being reflected on the employee's paycheck. So there's a time accrual plan that's set up in paychecks where it actually recognizes the current period or the payroll period accrual, and then it decrements that amount by their use taken hours. So it's taking the use taken hours from what comes in from that import report. So that's why it's critical to make sure when you do that comparison, make sure you're looking at the time details report. If they have PTO hours, make sure those leave taken hours are reflected on the payroll journal, that it's breaking it out regular and PTO hours. And I think also sick time as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
There's actually a report that I can help you do that. So this is just an additional optional step.
Okay.
But this is it's always under the people reports. You can go to people pay code summary report,
Okay.
and then you can select the time period. So I believe it's 5/13/23 to 5/26/23. So for this report, you actually can't select a time period, but this is just like an additional report that will help you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can run the report, and you can see who takes vacation and who has regular billable hours. So you can see that Court Lawrence took 8 hours of vacation. You can drill into the payroll journal and see if he actually took 8 hours of vacation as well.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Understood.
And that's
And then
it.
Derek, you're comfortable with, doing the review and then also doing the actual submission part in paychecks.
Yeah, I will have.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so after reviewing, this is where you would click submit payroll right here.
Okay, got it.
So I always make sure to run the reports again just in case anything happened and then submit it.
And one also thing too, once you hit that initial submit, Derek, you do have 15 minutes to make any changes before the file is final. So if you log in the system within that 15-minute time frame, you can actually make a change if you miss something. But after that 15-minute time,
within 15 minutes, yeah.
Within a 15-minute time frame. But after that 15-minute time frame, payroll is final.
Okay.
Okay. And I think that the next step that we would typically do is once you approve the payroll, we would then go in, provided there were no changes to labor costs, we would actually post labor in Uninet. Now, do you want to perform that function, or do you want us to perform that function for posting labor?
I mean, that's good. We go through it to see. But right now, I will probably do it, but we should see.
You want to see the process?
Yes, please.
Okay. Jal, can you show him without posting, please?
Sure. So usually you have to extract the timesheets, but since we did that payroll export, that automatically extracts the timesheets as well. So the next function you have to do is go to financials. This is just the Uninet dashboard. There'll be financials.
Yeah.
Invoice and posting. And then there will be a button called labor cost post. Pretty much what you would do if nothing is wrong, you would just select this time period and no changes are needed. Post date, I just like to do the end of the pay period, so it would be 5/26.
Okay.
And then, so active and active fine.
No,
I always mark these. And then this should actually match your people dime details, which I believe it does exactly. And then
So
you would
this
just
would be another. Go ahead, Chow.
You would just select all of these and then click post when you're comfortable with the labor cost post amount.
So you should do this in the sequence, Derek, once you've actually reviewed the payroll and once you've hit that submit button, because that'll be your final payroll. And then when you have your final payroll, go to the last page to get the gross wages compared to this amount for hours and wages. And once they both agree, that's when you know you're good to post.
Okay.
And then the next step would be recording the actual cash transaction. And if you're comfortable, we can process that during the quarterly processing period when we're working on your financials. Then we'll just look at your bank statement, we'll pull the cash requirements report, and then we'll record the AP entry to record that cash transaction.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and that's pretty much it with payroll and timesheets. Now, if timesheet corrections are needed, we could schedule another training to kind of walk you through that, because that's a little bit more involved, especially after timesheets are actually locked or completed.
Yeah, extracted as well.
Yeah. So as long as timesheets are correction, as long as there's no timesheet corrections, you should be good. But if there are timesheet corrections, let us know and we can walk you through what that looks like.
Got it. It's a whole nother thing. Okay. No, understood.
You have any questions or anything or any concerns?
No, not at this moment. I mean, I'm gonna go back and review this. You know, the steps. That's the most important thing. Is just getting the steps down in sequence. As far as that goes, you know.
And then I think we have next in the queue to review billing with you next week.
Oh yes.